Panzer Bricklabs provides great prices on amazing military printed pieces, minifigures, and most importantly, vehicles. So add some spice to your builds and check out the link in the description below.
Gunnar Larson, this is Eric Larson. This is Panther Factory. Outside we have the anti-aircraft gun and the flak helpers. When they turned 15, they were recruited to help on flak guns and searchlights, and then when they turned 18, they went to the Wehrmacht. Over here we have a German shunt engine used by the Wehrmacht in important areas, and some gondolas next to it unloading fuel. These are Panthers that were damaged on the front when they are being transported back here to be repaired. I think this is the only factory that was allowed to repair them. We have my custom Kubel wagon parked there. Some boxcars in the back unloading more supplies, just a blank hull coming in, getting ready to be turned into a tank. The underground, we have a little radio room and the officers' quarters, and then a hallway going down to the other side. And yeah.
So last year when we were trying to decide what we wanted to do for our MOC for this year, we looked at some of the things that had been done in the past. We saw that the Sherman factory had been done long ago, and we said, well, we are producing tanks. What could we do? And the oxide red German primer tank had never really been done. So we said, okay, well, let's look into doing a German factory. So we came across a book, which was Nuremberg's Panzer factory, which showed the MAN factory in Nuremberg, Germany. So went into that, did a lot of the research on that. And started the build. So MAN Factory didn't actually machine anything. It actually got parts and components from all around Germany, brought them here, and just assembled the tanks. It was a former truck factory that was transitioned into the Panther factory. So the majority of Panther production was here. This is the Panther OS A, early January, February 1944. So this is just before they would have transitioned into the Panther G. So out here represents the rail yards where they're bringing parts in, and then we show how they brought in the plain hull in red oxide, and then they start the process of manufacturing. So the belt, it serpentines around. They start cutting in the idler wheels, putting on the road wheels, machining the turret, and then they're getting into putting in the batteries, the grease fittings. So as you work your way around the entire factory, the components used to make the final product that we show are being installed. So that took a lot of research between that book and a book called Panther Feeble, which was the book that all Panther crewmen got when they took over the Panther tanks that taught them about the tanks. So we actually got that book translated into English from the Tank Museum, which is a really great resource if you're interested in the Panther tank. Really something you want to look into. So then we went through the book and we made all the different components, whether it be the gauges for the speedometer, the oil pressure, the commander's microphone box, the radios that actually went into the Panther, batteries. We've got the fire extinguishers that would have been in the Panther, the ammunition for the main gun and the machine gun. And then took a little bit of the photos and looked at the actual factory workers and what they were wearing as far as the hats and their uniforms, so we custom printed those as well. The interesting part that you'll see is there are actually tankers in the factory, and they would actually join towards the end of the manufacturing process and learn about the engine, about the air filters, about the intakes, starting it so they can make field repairs on the front if their Panther got damaged. So they would go after this process, drive the tank out in the oxide red to a proving ground nearby, where a Wehrmacht inspector would look over all the Waffen amps on the tank, make sure everything was right, and then they would do their paces to make sure the engine and everything on the drivetrain was working properly. One other thing you might see is there's little mascots they would draw on the side of the tanks towards the end of the line. So you'll see a cat, you'll see a bear, a panther, a trident, and a griffin. So they kind of had a little bit of personalities. And looking through the book, I could see those drawings on there. So when I was making the chalk marking prints, I copied them as much as I could to what I could see from the photos. So I saw those there as well. So, what other questions do you have for me about the MOC?
Okay, I think we can. Moving into the factory itself, an obvious thing that stands out is the extensive network of girders. Can you take us through the process of creating them?
Gunnar did most of the girder work, but it was pretty easy to look at how the girders were constructed from the photos, like the signs that say, keep the walkways free, they were hanging down. And he just looked at that construction, because we also have a roof that can go on top of this that they support. We've taken it off for the purpose of the fair so that we can show people the inside. But then he also made the gantry cranes. The gantry cranes were integral into the process of being able to move the tanks from track to track, actually put the tracks on the tank, and also add the turrets. So you wouldn't be able to operate the factory without a gantry crane capable of lifting them up off the ground and moving them from side to side. So the gantry cranes were one of the key components of the operation, so we had to indicate that with the girder system.
Okay, thank you very much for your time, and I hope I'll see you next Brickfair.
All right, sounds great. Thank you.